Hello and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Joni. I blog over at simplelivingmama.com where we help moms simplify life, home, and homeschool. And I'm excited because in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Charlotte Mason method and what that looks like in our homeschool. So I am a homeschool mom to 7 children. My oldest child is now 16 and my youngest is 4. I've been doing this for a long time now. I actually began learning about the Charlotte Mason method when my now 16-year-old was only 2. I didn't dive fully into the Charlotte Mason method until probably 3 years ago at this point. We started off with My Father's World, which is based off of the Charlotte Mason method in some ways. There is a lot involved with that curriculum that would line up with the Charlotte Mason method, but it's not completely Charlotte Mason. And I've talked about in my other videos, even now, I feel like we are using a Charlotte Mason curriculum. I'm still not a Charlotte Mason purist. There are other things that I pull in to our homeschool that aren't necessarily Charlotte Mason, and that's okay. But I still feel like the Charlotte Mason method is where we fit mostly as homeschoolers. It is what has developed my philosophy of education, and it is what has most influenced me as a homeschool mom. So I wanted to share that with you today, and I want to share with you what spreading the feast means. So this is something that you'll often hear in Charlotte Mason circles. We as homeschool moms are not here to cram as much information as we possibly can into our kids' heads and their minds and then hope that they can memorize everything and regurgitate it back to us. That is not what we're trying to do here in our homeschools. What we are trying to do is to introduce our children to a wide variety of subjects and topics, and we want those things to then become part of our children. We want our children to take whatever they can from the subjects that we teach them and then internalize those things, and there's going to be things that they're going to pick up and hold on to, and there's probably going to be things that they read and let go of, and that's just the natural process of education. So today I want to talk about what that looks like in our home right now. If you're unfamiliar, I do use the Mater Amabilis homeschool curriculum. It's a free homeschool curriculum. It is Catholic based, but it's a Charlotte Mason curriculum, and I pull most of my books from their book list. I also use Ambleside Online for a few different things. And then of course I did talk about how there are some things that I use that are not Charlotte Mason. So for example, my high school students take courses on homeschoolconnections.com. That's a very traditional setting. And we sometimes use science courses that are not Charlotte Mason based, and then our math courses are not Charlotte Mason based. I have tried the math that is from simplycharlottemason.com. I tried it with one of my students. I think I tried it with my 3rd child. And it just wasn't something that I really wanted to continue with. So we mostly use teaching textbooks in our homeschool, as well as Math with Confidence when the kids are younger. That's something new that we recently picked up. And that's just how we do things. So you'll get to see a little bit of that in the snippets that I show you here in just a few minutes. But before we get to those snippets, I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about what makes up the basis of our homeschool. So the majority of what makes up our homeschool is living books. We use living books for nearly every subject except for the few that I just previously mentioned. And what are living books? Living books are books that are not like textbooks. They're not dry, they're not boring. They're written by an author that truly has a passion for the subject that they're writing about. They can be fiction, they can be nonfiction, they can tell a story, they can tell us about a subject, and it's something that holds our interest. So like I said, it's not just like a boring, bland textbook. So that's something that I'll show you guys here in just a few minutes as well. So I have been reading In Vital Harmony by Karen Glass over the past few months. Sometimes it takes me a while to get through a book these days, But one of the things that stuck out to me was how living books could be divided into 3 different categories. So we have like knowledge of God, knowledge of man, and knowledge of the universe. So knowledge of God would be things like our religious text, our Bible, our catechism, different things like that. Knowledge of man would be things like history or art, social studies, different things like that. And then knowledge of the universe is more of our sciences. So we have a wide variety of subjects that we cover even in one school day, and they could be divided into one of those 3 categories. So for example, for knowledge of God, we would read from our catechism, or we would read from our Bible for the day. For knowledge of man, that would be our history readings, or our art study, or our composer study, something like that. And then knowledge of the universe could be our geography study or our science study, and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to a Charlotte Mason education and how you could divide the different subjects. I try really hard to spread a feast, and the thing is, when you look at how many subjects we're covering in a day, it can seem like a lot. But with the Charlotte Mason method, we're not spending hours and hours on each one of those subjects. Sometimes those subjects are very, very short. I'm talking 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what the reading is. Sometimes they're a little bit longer. Sometimes the reading may last 15 minutes, and then I have the kids do a notebooking activity for their narration after we get done reading the text. Sometimes we don't do notebooking. Sometimes we just talk about the text and they orally narrate what they remember back to me. So that is sort of how it goes in our homeschool. In the next few clips, I'm going to walk you through a homeschool day. We're going to start with morning time, which includes all of my children from ages 16 down to 4. And then as we move through morning time and into the subjects, I'll be showing the subjects that I do with my younger kids. My older kids at this point are pretty much completely independent. They have their list and they go and they work on their list. If they have a question or a problem, they'll come to me. And we will discuss what they're working on and what they're learning later on in the day. Sometimes we don't even get to it that day, and we'll just discuss it later on in the week. Now, for the younger kids, I am present for almost all of their lessons. I'm still reading aloud to these children. I like to try to start my kids with their independent list and most of their subjects that they're reading independently around 5th grade. It just depends on the child, and I'm not even entirely sure. One of my kids that I work with right now is in 4th grade, so he'll be in 5th grade next year, and I haven't decided if I'm going to, give him his own fully independent readings yet. We'll just have to see how it goes. It really depends on their maturity level and where they're at reading wise and narration wise, and how much they're able to write or type or orally narrate back to me. That's something that we have to work on. So anyway, we're going to take a look at their subjects. My 1st grader joins for many of those subjects, and then you're going to see at the end of those clips me working with my 1st grader independently. He does have his own readings that I do with him. My 4-year-old definitely joins in with that as well. And then, of course, his independent work. I don't think I have any clips of my 3rd grader and my 4th grader doing their independent work, their math and their language arts. That's just something that they kind of do while I'm working with my 1st grader, and I'll go and check their work as needed. So yeah, let's dive in and let's see what it looks like to spread a feast in a large family Charlotte Mason homeschool. Okay, so we're going to begin with morning time. This is how we always begin our day, and all of my kids come together for this particular time. Today we're going to be reading a poem from The Harp and the Laurel Wreath. I'll have the kids take turns reading different stanzas from our poem of the day. We're also going to read a little bit from Lives from Plutarch, and we're going to discuss that as a family. I do have my morning time binder here, and we are actually going over our hymn we use Ambleside Online for our hymns and our folk songs. So we sing that together, listen to it, and then we move on into our morning time book from Cindy Rollins. Talked about this one in previous videos. We are doing memory work from this book, and we are also doing civics questions. My kids really love the civics questions from this book. And then we always end our morning time with The World from A to Z with Carla Zeus. That is here on YouTube, totally free. The kids love it. Once we finish morning time, I gather all of our books for my younger set of kids. Today we're going to be doing our science study, our catechism. We're going to be doing our ancient Egypt study, our literature study. We're going to learn a little bit about the Arctic today, and then you will also see that we do a little bit of American history as well after lunch. So we begin with our catechism. What you don't see is that I wrote the Bible verse on our whiteboard, and the kids copy that down in their notebooks. Then we move on into our literature reading for the day. I read it aloud, and then I have the kids narrate back to me what they heard. And then after we did our Arctic reading, we learned about totem poles. So I had the kids draw totem poles in their notebooks. We actually used a YouTube video to help with this drawing. They actually really enjoyed it, and I was impressed with what they came up with. And then, of course, once they finished their illustrations, I did have them write a little bit about what they learned in their notebooks as well. On the days that we don't have anything to do outside of the house, I try to cook a hot lunch, and my 10-year-old helped me. We just made lentils and sausage. After lunch, we move into our American history study. So we are currently using History Unboxed for a lot of fun add-ons to our history studies this year. We are learning about westward expansion. I do use some living books from our My Father's World U.S. history curriculum that I've had for years and years. So we read those living books, and then we add on these fun activities. What I like to do is read the pamphlet that goes with the activity that we're going to be doing, and then we do the activity afterwards. Here's a look inside the box. My kids were really excited for this gold panning activity, and we also were going to be learning about how candy came to the United States. They were excited about that as well. But this has been a really great addition to our homeschool this year, and I highly recommend it because the activities are so much fun. So after we read about the California Gold Rush, we moved into this gold panning activity. This dirt is called pay dirt, and it has little tiny flecks of gold in it. They're kind of hard to find, but my kids did have a lot of fun and spent quite a bit of time looking for the little flecks of gold in the pay dirt. Now it's time to do independent work with my first grader. I usually sit down and knock out all of his independent work at one time. We're doing the Bob books for reading lessons, Handwriting Without Tears for handwriting, his catechism, of course his math is Math with Confidence. He's really enjoying Bones and Stones from The Good and the Beautiful. And yeah, we just sit down, we read together, and we get his work done. Well, that is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you got something out of it. If you have any questions, you can leave those down in the comments below, and I will get back to you. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the video, and I will see you in the next one.